Hi, everybody. Welcome to Command & Conquer Rivals Tips and Tricks, Episode 5. Alright, it's been a little bit since I've done a tips and tricks video, so we're going to have this one be a little bit longer than normal. I plan to go over about maybe twice as many battles as normal. We're going to do some basic stuff for some people and some more advanced stuff as well. First off, basic stuff. You can, obviously, from the bottom of my screen, get purple chests occasionally. So the more of those fuels you use, the better stuff you'll be able to get. There's no need to really spend a lot of money on this game. And you've seen my gems jump up from 2,000 to 600 from 0, back up to 700. You know, I'm not spending money on those. I'm just playing, constantly getting these fuel trucks, constantly doing my daily challenges. And also, as you rank up, you'll be able to get more stuff. So you want to rank up, get more from your chests, more money from your challenges. Like, let me look at my challenges right now, and you guys can compare. Actually, you can't see right now because I've completed them for the day. But each challenge gives me 220 credits. So with 5 challenges, that's an easy 100 for the 20, and then 2,100 credits a day just from that. And then each battle is also giving me 88 credits. So, you know, if it takes me a minimum of 6 battles in order to get all those, it's another 6. I'm looking at nearly 2,000 credits a day just from doing my dailies. Almost, not quite. And, you know, my chests on top of that, all the fuel I get from it. You know, I will do my dailies in the morning, do chests all day for, like, you know, 3 hours a day because I'm rushing everything. And then, you know, might do a couple more battles at the end of the day, which will give me a couple hundred more credits. Keeping my fuel filled up so I can pump out some more chests. Like right now, I'm out of fuel. So after I'm done with these videos, I'm going to play a couple more games, get some more fuel, make sure I can continue doing that all night, repeat process in the morning. So I only really play about twice a day, but I do enough to fill up my fuel, which will be, you know, 4 or 6 games, something like that. Sometimes more. You know, I did have, I think, like 9 losses recently in a row. I was like, because I was actually up to like 1,700 on both of my sectors, and now, as you can see, I'm just over 1,600. I actually lost 100 points on each sector, because everybody I was fighting was using level 10 units, and all of my units were level, you know, 7 is my highest. I don't even have an 8 yet. You know, fighting people with 8s is like a little bit of a handicap. 9s is a huge handicap. 10, I feel like just throwing in the towel when I see it. But I do beat some of them, and I mean, I actually managed to fight a few people with units at my level, which you will see in some of these combats, because usually I'm complaining, wow, this guy's got 2 levels on each unit over me, or a full level on each unit over me. Actually, some of these guys only have a couple levels over me, or right around my, I think there's one that even had levels under me, but he was very good, so it was a good match. But let's get started. A few things I want to talk about is hard counters, soft counters. We've not been over that too detailed. So some of you have heard me talk about this, but you're like, what's a hard counter? What's a soft counter? You know what a counter is. Well, say I'm doing a laser squad or a rocket squad, which is good against vehicles in air. And you're using an air unit like a buggy or a Venom. Those are vehicles that are good against infantry. So my laser squad is a soft counter to them, and they're a soft counter to me. Because we counter each other, really you're doing about the same. You're getting your money's worth in combat power. And then it's more about, you know, how you use it. Now, when you do a hard counter, that would be, say, the rocket squad or laser squad against a scorpion tank, because the laser squad is good against vehicles, which the scorpion tank is, but the scorpion tank is not good against infantry. So then it's a hard counter. And there's another way of talking about hard counters and soft counters a lot of people don't mention, and that is how good it is at taking out that unit. Say, a rifleman is okay against taking out infantry. But a flame infantry, or a shockwave trooper, which isn't even out yet, but they're coming out. It's the same as the flame trooper, but for GDI. You know, they're much, much better at taking out infantry. They can take out even the high-end infantry, like cyborgs, you know, quite effectively. Where it might take 2 riflemen, and even then, depending on levels, you might lose. Where 1 flame trooper can do the job, because it is a hard counter to infantry, you know, versus a more of a soft counter to infantry. And that's more in general. And you'll hear the same thing when fighting, you know, even tanks in air. But, stuff that can handle it early game and late game, are usually fairly different. If he's got a unit that you just can't kill, it's either because you don't have that heavy anti-his unit, or you don't have something that his unit is not good against. There's no unit in the game that's good against everything. There are combos that together are good against almost everything, but even those combos will have weaknesses. The question is, did you build your army with that weakness? No army is perfect because of this, and the limited amount of men you can build. But anyway, that's enough about counters. Let's get into some gameplay. Alright. I don't even remember what all these are. This one, let's see. This guy was a much higher level than me, 200 medals over me. But I don't think there's anything important with that battle. Yeah, because he's only got the level 8 infantry. Everything else is like around my level, or even lower in that case. I think I actually won that one because of levels more balanced or in my favor than any skill or mistakes. Alright, I think I remember this one. This one's a good one. So, in this one, you have to be willing to retreat.
Establishing battlefield control.
Pay attention to your base. Also, if they fire both missiles, you can still win. You just have to blow up his base before the missile lands. The victory is yours. It's not a draw. It's, oh, he fired the second missile, he's won. Oh, he fired the second missile, but I can blow up his base. It's a draw. No, if he fires the second missile and you blow up his base, you win. He loses, even though he's got off that second missile. So, never give up. There are times, obviously, when he's still got like full half of his health in base, you can't do it, but let's speed this up a little. So, I'm trying to build counters, and okay, wait, let me slow this down. So I moved my rifleman closer to his base to see what he was building. I built a counter for his riflemen. I saw the attack bikes, I retreated my buggy out of there, and I built rocket squads to counter the attack bikes. Now, again, there's a lot of, at this point, movement, but I'm building the proper counters. Were they used for that point? Probably not. The Scorpion tank the attack bikes as well. He built his own Scorpion tank, so we're matching each other pretty well. And if I recall, he actually gets a heads up on me. And knows he's going to look. So he's got the bottom right, I build a tank. He starts going on. So he's got strength people off. Start going into his base. And then he does a really good counter stuff. I meant to save my attack bikes. So he took out a Scorpion tank. And I'm building a beam cannon to deal with his buggies if they push forward. I see Scorpion, I'm really worried. The Scorpion out of my own. And I notice he's not going to the top right. So this is beautiful. Right here what I do. Let me pause this. I move the rifleman in so he can't move up to attack my beam cannon. I move my attack bike in so he can't move up to attack my beam cannon. And he has to move out of the way because I really don't want to do that Scorpion with him. And then I end up, doing my best anyway. But, because of this, that beam cannon is doing like 23 damage. He does another really good counter missile, but I'm just countering with his hit. And he makes a mistake here. He can move in and kill my beam cannon, but he doesn't do it. He goes for the points, thinking I'm going to fire the missile. And he allows me to finish off his base, even though the missile gets fired. So he fires the missile, and I actually have plenty of time. I got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds before he blew up my base after I'd blown up his base. I had 6 additional seconds there before it had landed. And I blew it up after he fired the missile. I've played some games where I have blown up his base half a second before the missile lands. And it still gives me the victory. It's not a draw. So, important piece of information there. Don't forget to defend your base. And you can win even if he gets the second missile. If you have the right units, you send over a flame tank or two, and you summon a flame infantry on the other side, you could tear up half of a base in like 5 seconds. And, I mean, you could actually, if you like, I can't hold this point, instead push toward his base, summon something, tear it up. You can tear that base up so quickly in certain situations. I don't know how many times I've had people kill my base where there was nothing I could do. Usually, when I'm fighting higher level opponents, and they realize how much higher level their units are than me, they're 2 or 3 levels over mine, they just like, why am I even fighting this guy? And they send everything straight at my base. And if I've got 2 counters for every 1 unit they have, they're still going to be able to kill my base before I can kill their units. I think one time I managed to hold someone off who was like more than 2 levels over me with all of his units. And that was just because he tried, when my base was at full health, there were units that weren't good against the base, and not only did I manage to kill them, but create a wall barrier that of units that he couldn't get through. I don't remember if I won that game or not, but the point is valid that I managed to hold him off. But other people, especially if they're using units that can go over units like hair units or something, ooh, and I don't know how, because the game doesn't let me, but some people seem to be able to beam the middle of your base, and when you have multiple buildings, it actually hits it multiple times. So something like, say, an ion cannon can actually end up doing, like, times, potentially, if you had all your buildings, 5 damage to the base. Which doesn't make sense, because I can't target the middle of the base. I can target next to the base. I don't know how they do that, and I question if that is fair. Maybe it's something on PC or hacking. I don't want to claim hacker because maybe I just think my unit's close enough. But I've never been able to, even with stuff almost right there next to it, but maybe at a short vision, been able to target the core of a base and hit it 5 times like that. Where I've seen people do that to me before, and I'm just like, that's not fair. Why can they do it, but I can't? But maybe if I get a rifleman or some air unit with enough vision close enough and then try it. Something for me to still test out. I don't know everything. Anyway, that was this one I believe we just watched. Yes. So let's go on to this one.
Establishing battlefield control.
And a lot of times you want to play defensive.
3.
You want to... Phone call. Let me cancel that. If it shows up. Now we'll call him back. In the middle of making a YouTube video, please, don't be important. Alright, so, like right here, I stopped my riflemen. Even though mine are a lower level, if he pushed down,
Building online.
Because they get a defensive bonus. While his are moving in, mine are shooting.
Unit ready.
So by the time he starts shooting, I already killed some of his infantry out of there, so he's got less firepower. So at that point, even if he's got increased firepower defense, we'd have the same firepower, and because I've already done damage, the same defense. So, like I said, in many cases, you can actually
Unit ready. Unit lost. Unit ready.
I kind of missed the rest of the target to the far right by his harvester. I had a guy that was trying to move, so I'm just running in circles around his harvester, playing, tag.
Unit ready.
Here I'm trying to use rocket guys at 2 on the left. But I almost got his harvester completely dead with one little guy right here transforming
Unit
because
ready.
they were trying to take it.
Warhead launch.
Now here, I did artillery shoots. I did
Unit
2.
ready.
That is where you can combo your units. You want to fight multiple units. I don't know why you
Unit
say
lost.
hundreds of rifles.
Unit enhanced. Unit lost.
But whatever. A few riflemen, yes. That many was a little bit.
Unit ready.
Again, my artillery is just tearing apart. I'm using multiple HCs, killing these guys, getting my harvester out of there. Teamwork to get that missile is just doing
Nuclear
what
missile launched.
Probably the other OPC down, but the game's over. Combos. Very important. And there was a lot of good micromanagement there on both sides. His one rifleman thing was probably the biggest mistake he made, though. Anyway, let's move on. And go over these 2 or 3. Let's start at the top.
Establishing
After
battlefield
these 3, I'm
control.
going to call it because apparently...
3, 2, 1.
they're pretty
New
cool.
objective available.
Let's do times
Unit ready.
rifleman. I try chasing his rocket
Unit ready.
squad. He's got flames. He's actually kind of very good. I got some Haboon troops, but he's got 2 to 1. So
Building online.
I got some bad choices there. I'm still not doing very good.
Unit ready.
Building online.
Real warhead launch.
Okay, now here's what's important. I've got an air troop, and I'm getting it out of danger and saving it. Even though it's got low health, it's still useful against the air. I've got another one, and now I notice that I can see them both in to both of his harvesters, so I do that. And I'm attacking them simultaneously. So even if he saves one, it's going to be really hard for him to get to the base.
Our
And he decided to go for my base. Now I'm focused on, saving my base. I'm going to speed this back up. And he does manage to save the bottom half. But I get attacked by him. And I take out they're free to rebuild. I already made the money from it. There's no point in him not rebuilding. If I was still reeling around his base with stuff to take him out, yes, he should not build them, kill my stuff, and then rebuild it. But he should have rebuilt them 2-3 times over again if need be. And he's not. So he's got no money, he can't fight with me income-wise, and I cannot. You can't forget to rebuild a harvester. There's very rare times you don't want to rebuild. Yes, there's times you don't want to build new ones, but if you've already built them, they're free to rebuild. They're giving you money. Only when your opponent is hardcore camping that spot and you know you're going to lose them again and just give him money is it worth it not to build them. And then, you're still hurting yourself for money, but hopefully you're hurting him more. But if he has harvesters, just build your harvesters back. Honestly, I might have messed with them, I might have not, but, that's part of the game. Defend the harvesters. If you have enough money stocked up and he's hardcore testing your harvesters, okay, then yeah, don't rebuild them. You got enough money. But he obviously did not. He ran out of money. He was not building troops, and he just couldn't fight with my sheer numbers, even though I was screwing up all over the place with soft counters instead of hard counters.
Establishing battlefield control.
Alright.
3, 2, 1. New mission received. Building online. Go.
Again, you see me pull back, be defensive.
Building online.
I'm trying to get him with the attack box. I don't retreat with the attack box. Yes, I should stick him. His guys constantly are slow, they're stronger in combat, but we're the same level, so we're just equal out combat. However, if I retreated and he chased me, his guys shoot me at the same time. So he would have been able to easily kill me. I'm doing really good here with the last tanks. He messes up with really good anti-tank, and I don't have enough tanks out there. I got lots of stuff. I got as far as he knows, one tank. You can see my second at this point. He doesn't even kill it. He's got a single anti-tank unit, and he knows they're attached with him with it. Alright, now he's building anti-infantry, and that's a good choice. I'm starting to bring out artillery because I got money now. And again, teamwork. You see me do this a little bit with the artillery and teamwork. I can keep a unit in front of it, push it forward. Tank against chase, anti-infantry, artillery blast on it. So another tank, that was probably a bad choice of mine. Between the artillery and that, and then to take this thing out. But he does really good. Here's where it's more than rocket squad. Rocket squad's against the tank thing. He's beating the stairs. Just basic rifleman. Oh look, a late game rifleman. I've essentially won the game. I'm still bombarding this guy with my rocket squad and artillery. He's still building up anti-tank. He sees he's got infantry, and he's trying to attack the tank again. He's not counting my stuff. He's building something that's weak against infantry and only fighting infantry with it. It's good against tanks. He can tear up my tanks with my artillery reinforcements, and they've got a lot of health. But he doesn't do it. And because he doesn't do that, I win the game. And this is the third mission. Let's not collect that bar is taken up.
Unit enhanced.
And if you can get there and I think you got it, he has no time. The bar charges faster with the third missile. Don't forget that. Secret tip. The bar charges faster with the third missile. If it's paused, it doesn't matter. But if it's charging, that time is shortened. And you need to remember that. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself thinking you got time and then running out. I don't know if the second one is shortened a little bit. If it is, it's not enough to notice. But definitely that third one is. Alright, so this guy's got me a little bit on level. Okay, this is a good one. This is a good one. I've mentioned this before in my infantry video on how to counter scarabs. I did it at the very beginning of this mission. That's why I saved this one. I want to show this to you guys. Because the scarabs will seem almost overpowered and unbeatable unless you know how to beat them. And I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to get out my second infantry. Alright, so I put them both within one block of the scarab, so the scarab can't push forward. and then I move them in simultaneously. So if the Scarab shoots at one, well, it's already targeting my guy, so I can't stop that one. Again, it's a little bit long, finishes it off before it even gets to go off. So his Scarab is now gone, and all I lost is a 10-cost troop. Later in the game, you can take it out with ranged units very effectively. But early in the game, you don't have range. So infantry, fodder, riflemen. I can only say it so many times. They're very good. I'm trying to count guys, you can see quite well. Rearranging people, and everybody can count each other quite well. And then I decided to sacrifice some people to get the mission. Which I take like his, so if I do want to and that wasn't sacrifice. I think these book was done. It's not already done that. Right now, multiple people to fight. Flame troopers are someone thinking he's doing infantry, but he's not. He's doing heavy vehicles. Boarded missile, killing the harvester, just taking out all the vehicles and attacking my tanks. Trying to get the bar. Hit my harvester. If he messes up here, he should chase the harvester. Instead he's focusing on the rockets again. He's going to move on to the middle one, and the troopers take care of the guys at the top and in the middle. Yeah, he needed to get his attack bikes up on the top right. He needed to move his missile squads on the middle. And even then, I still would have gotten it, honestly, because I had the tank up on the top left. You know, that's something that Flame Trooper really got him, and him doing too many missile squads. And there's a lot of stuff going on at the same time, but that's part of it. Micromanaging means you're managing all the little details all over the place. That's micromanagement. Your overall plan, your army plan, I'm going to do infantry first, I'm going to do vehicles. Him doing, Scarabs, switching over very quickly to vehicles and being able to pump out rocketmen still for, a vehicle infantry switch early game. That's his macro management. Him running off of a single harvester. If I don't kill enough of his troops, if he's actually holding me off, he'll save up enough money to get out his temple, and then to pump out his rockworm. His rockworm, its only goal is to be one of two things. Kill big vehicles and hold a point to give him the game, if it's that close to over, or to go after the enemy harvesters. Now, once it goes after the enemy harvesters, it's gonna, hopefully kill one or two of them and make tons of money. You kill 2 harvesters with 1 rockworm, you just made 200 extra Tiberium. And with that Tiberium, you pump out the flame tanks. Or whatever else, your late game stuff. His other late game stuff is the flame tank. So he can either pump out more rockworms, to deal with massive anti-vehicle or heavy vehicles, or you can go for the flame tanks to deal with massive anti-infantry. Because he has the attack bikes and the Scarabs for the expensive stuff, he can actually handle air pretty okay. All of his stuff practically fights air. Rocket Squad, Scarabs, attack bikes, buggies, it all fights air. Air is pretty well handled. And then he's got the Rockworm for late game tanks and the Flame Tanks for late game infantry. He's got quite a decent army here. So that's his macro management. His macro is very good. His micro was a little lacking though. But if I had not had such a constant hectic battle with him, he would have been able to get the rockworm, kill my harvesters, get the flame tanks, and if they don't rate my infantry, they go straight for my base and just take it out. So he only needs 1 missile, and then he kills that before it goes off the second time. It's a very good concept he had here, but because I used riflemen and rocket squads early game, I was able to counter his Scarabs properly. And again, they're easy to counter, but you have to know how to counter them. Which is why I'm sharing this in this tips and tricks video. A lot of you people who haven't run into them yet, they seem overpowered the first time you do. If he had run into a Scarab army, he would have actually been in trouble. Because they would have canceled his rocket guys out 2 for 1. They would have held off any other Scarabs he had. His attack bikes and buggies would have lost 2 to 1 for, the same cost. He literally would have had to go up for double harvesters, get the rockworm right away, go after the enemy harvesters, and then I don't know, the flame tanks have enough health. Along with the rockworms, I think they can handle a few Scarabs, but his Temple of Nod stuff's the only thing that can handle it with what he's got. The only thing I have to handle it is the Rifleman early game. Later in the game, I can trade the Scorpion tanks for them. A Scorpion tank can survive a Scarab, but not two. And they come in pairs. So, now, if it shoots enough, it can take it down one of those Scarabs, possibly before they go off, and then the other one goes off on it. So, it could win against the Scarab, but the Scarab's half cost of the Scorpion. But, I mean, my early game, I kind of have the Rifleman. My medium game, I could sort of use the Scorpions to push them off of points and then use a Rifleman or a Buggy to keep them from coming back to the point. And then late game, I've got the Artillery for them, which is ranged, with this current build. And you'll see, I change my builds a lot. A lot of people, you find a good build and you keep it. And I've got some that I prefer to keep. But you'll see me mixing up my builds all the time. Usually I will keep some infantry and some vehicles, but then I might mix in some air or some Temple of Nod. Anyway, there's a significant variety. I think that's probably about it for today. We've gone over how missiles work. Oh yeah, there's 2 new units coming out, the Tic Tac Tank and the Shockwave Troopers. Shockwave Troopers are just like Flame Troops. The Tic Tac Tank is a defensive vehicle. It's just like the Scorpion Tank, but it dies a lot easier. And once it gets to a point, instead of just stopping, it drills into the point, and then it gets like a huge defensive buff, like 75%. But because it's already weaker than the Scorpion, and it costs 20 credits more, that's a full third more, I highly question its usability. And it doesn't seem to fire while it's drilling into the ground. This is not something that I've tested, and again, how much more defensive it gets is still in question right now. Apparently, it used to be 50%. It's supposed to be 75% by the time it comes out. And they're still doing testing on this unit. And I've not gotten to play with it. I've only gotten to see other people play with it where I've gotten this information. As it stands, the Tic Tac Tank does not sound like a very good unit to me. It could be used defensively very well. If you have already captured a point, push the enemy off, you bring that in and put it in a good defensive spot. But because it can't move without, essentially, I think it unburrows like almost instantly. But while it's moving, it's vulnerable. And while it's burrowing, it seems to be vulnerable. So I think that, your 3 situations you're going to be fighting. You're either going to have to push into a situation, which is quite often when you're building new units. I'd say it's one of the most useful ways to use a unit is to be able to push in. It can't do that. To fight and move, because if he comes at you and he flanks you or he hits you with the wrong type of unit, sometimes you got to get out of there and get something else in. This thing can't move. You have to rely completely on your other units, and depending on what he does, you can find yourself very easily fighting things that you're not good against. And even with that defensive bonus, I don't think it's quite enough. It'll hold them up for a little while. Maybe if you're, just playing as a wall for some artillery, that might be useful. But for the cost of this unit, I'd rather have something that can actually fight back and use properly than something that I'm just going to throw away and not work that well. It's only good against other vehicles. If he's coming out with infantry or air, 2/3 of the time, it's sitting there. You don't want it to be sitting there. You want it to get out of there. If you get it out of there, it's weakened. It's worse. It's worse than a Scorpion when moving forward. It's worse than a Scorpion if you have to rearrange your units. Only if you only want that unit sitting still, and he's attacking with things, is it better than a Scorpion. That's only 1/3 of the time, and that's not that as common as the other 2 situations. You're going to see the other 2/3 of the time way more often than this 1/3 of the time. So most of the time, this unit is worse than a Scorpion. And at the moment, they have it costing 20 Tiberium more than a Scorpion at 80 cost. So I find the Scorpions to be way better. If it was the same cost as a Scorpion, I would still consider the Scorpions, because they're better more often than that thing would be. And again, that's just currently. There's a lot of changes that could happen between now and the time the unit comes out, or even after the unit comes out when they update it. But yeah, the Tic Tac Tank at the moment is better in a rare situation, in a rare circumstance, and when fighting someone who doesn't know how to deal with it. I just don't like it. Hopefully, they will give it some improvements and prove me wrong. I know originally it was a 50% defense buff, and now they're talking about a 75% defense buff when it burrows in. Honestly, I think that needs to be more like a 200% defense buff to make it worth it for the current value. That would make it quite good against vehicles. You're still weak against infantry and air, but with that huge defense buff, it can still hold off infantry and air for a while, which can be very important if you're a wall unit for the like artillery or something with range, or if you have other units around it that can deal with infantry and air but not vehicles. And you're just holding that point. You need to hold that point to get that missile to fire. Yeah, then it would definitely be worth it. So, but where it's at right now, I'm highly questioning it as a truly viable good unit. But the shock troopers would be great because the GDI really needed something to counter the flame troopers besides snipers, which sadly I can't even get the snipers yet, or I don't have them. The snipers look absolutely wonderful, but actually I could get the snipers at my level 12. I just haven't found them yet. Who knows? Maybe I will get lucky and get them with this purple crate coming in. Also don't have scarabs yet, so I mean, who knows? Anyway, this has gone on way too long. This was episode 5. Hope it helped you guys with some advanced tips about the missiles, how they fire with the third missile, how you can destroy somebody's base even after the second missile has been launched and still claim victory. Ways of getting new units with the purple stuff, and countering some of those difficult to counter scarabs and other units. Have a good day, and next time we will do a Let's Play at the end, because I skipped it again this time. See you guys.